Clock in, clock in. Black gotta just walked in.
I don't need nobody, only fuck with niggas from around my way. Fuck how you feel about it. I'm the one who's stepping for my section, but they still tryna block it. Had to throw the 8 up on my necklace, bitch, come tryna stop it, bitch. I don't even wash my clothes, cause I ain't never folded. Had to wipe a nigga nose.
Team Black gotta stand up, man. Yo. Alright, y'all, we back with another video, y'all, and this is about the YSL Rico case, man. I'm pretty sure you guys see by the title, the judge has officially been recused from the case, man, so he is no longer the judge in Young Thug's case. Now I want y'all to sit there and really think about how long this case has been going on, let alone how long it took for them to even get a jury in this case, man. It took damn near a year to even just get the jury for the case. Like, y'all remember what was going on in the beginning? Well, it was people that didn't even want to be the jury, and then they would tell them they had no choice but to be jury. Like, it's so much in this case that is just so crazy, and the fact that a whole nother judge has to receive this case, I know she is going to be scratching her head bad. You dig what I'm saying? Not only is she gonna be scratching her head, you feel me? Us, the people, are gonna be looking like, how can this go? Can this actually go in Thug's favor? Or could this be some more fire Thug gonna end up having to walk through, man? And then I'm confused on how is it gonna work with the jury? Like, is the jury gonna still be here and come back to court one day and see that there's a whole different judge on the case and still look at this situation the same? That's kind of hard for me to believe it's actually gonna go down that way, and I don't think it should go down that way, because if it's going down that way, I would assume Young Thug is gonna be found not guilty and everybody else associated with this case, if they don't got something that directly ties them to whatever they're being accused of, bro. Like, this is just wow. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is over my head, fam. Like, we need to go get some milk right now, you feel me? But y'all, it happened. There's definitely a new judge, and for us to see how this plays out, it's gonna be a big one. It's gonna be a real big one, y'all. But let's tap in with this video.
This is a huge win.
Following a controversy over an ex parte meeting in Chambers, the judge in Young Thug's RICO trial is off the case after one of his colleagues orders him to step aside.
I don't see how you rewind this case to June the 12th.
I look at what's next for the months-long RICO trial and talk with one of the lawyers caught up in the controversy. Plus, what does Young Thug's lawyer have to say about a new judge coming on board?
I definitely anticipate motions for mistrial, motions being filed for a mistrial.
Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. Judge Earl Glenville is no longer presiding over the RICO trial of Jeffrey Williams, who's better known as rapper Young Thug. I'm going to go through the order for Glenville's recusal, but first, a quick recap on how we got to this point. It became clear that Glenville's days of overseeing the case might be numbered on June 10th, when he held Williams' lawyer, Brian Steele, in contempt after Steele questioned why Glenville didn't tell him about an ex parte meeting in Chambers with the state's star witness, Kenneth Little Woody Copeland, and prosecutors.
Mr. Steele, I am going to hold you still hold you in summary criminal contempt.
The Fulton County DA's office maintained there was nothing improper about this meeting.
We certainly have the right to request ex parte communications. That's why we asked that the court reporter be present.
Well, it looked like you was lying.
That the defendants did not have a right to be a part of.
After Steele was held.
Well, look how them damn tables turned, huh? Oh, that was a meeting you was supposed to have, huh? It wasn't no problem with that meeting at all whatsoever. If you ask me, it looked like it was a big problem with that meeting. Matter of fact, it's been a big problem with the whole court situation in all, y'all. I've been telling y'all from the get-go, like, there's gonna end up being a new judge, you feel me? If y'all would remember the last video that I did on this situation, I believe I said, without a doubt, there would definitely be a new judge, and that's exactly what happened, man. I mean, if you got eyes to see what's been going on, bro, rather, you know, Glenville was actually being biased or not, man, that's just how it was looking, bro, you know. And then the other little remarks that was made during court, okay, that you could brush off. You know, it could just be like him just being, you know, serious, because he was actually being serious with state as well. But when it got to the point where he done told him he fits to go to jail, that's when it got too far. Like the beef went too far in court, in front of everybody. Yeah, beef was beefy. You dig what I'm saying? Then, you know, Mr. Steele had to end up getting, you know, a higher up to look in and prevent him from actually getting locked up, bro. It really went that far, you know? So like once I seen that, I was like, yeah, this is just out of hand. It's out of pocket, bro. Like it gotta be a new judge. Like, it's just too much emotions going on right now. Now anything could happen for real. Just cause the judge really not vibing with Mr. Steele. Mr. Steele just created a whole op with one of the most important people in the courtroom, which is the judge. So now it's like, what the heck is finna happen to Thug? Cause bro, your lawyer beefing with the judge, famo. I don't think you're supposed to do that.
He appealed and received a supersedious bond so he wouldn't have to go to jail. That appeal is still pending. The trial continued, but you could tell things appeared to be pretty strained. Steele and attorney Doug Weinstein, who represents defendant Diamante Yak Gotti Kendrick, filed motions asking Glenville to recuse himself. Glenville eventually asked another judge to weigh in on whether or not he should be recused.
Upon further review, this court will in fact enter an order sending Mr. Adams and Steele's, Mr. Weinstein, and Mr. Banks' motion to recuse to another judge.
Judge Rachel Krauss got the case and made her decision rather quickly. In a 10-page order, Judge Krauss cited case law to support her decision that Judge Glenville should be recused. Judges shall disqualify themselves in any proceeding in which their impartiality might be reasonably questioned. Judge Krauss continued. A judge has no interest in sitting on a particular case at most. His interest lies in protecting his own reputation. His efforts at defending himself against a motion to recuse will inevitably create an appearance of partiality. One reason is that if he defends himself, he becomes an adversary of the movement for recusal. This adversarial posture may create an antipathy, which persists after the motion to recuse is denied. Judge Krauss wrote that there were 3 criteria for determining whether a judge should recuse himself or herself. In transferring the case to another judge for consideration, Judge Glenville necessarily determined that the 3rd criteria was satisfied, i.e., that recusal might be authorized if the facts alleged in the motion were assumed true. Once the motions to recuse were filed, Judge Glenville couldn't argue against them. He's essentially prohibited from doing so. Judge Krauss wrote, "A judge cannot become actively involved in presenting evidence or argument against a motion seeking his recusal without that defense itself becoming a basis for recusal." So what did Judge Krauss think about the ex parte meeting? She appeared to choose her words very carefully. It is worth noting that this court agrees generally with Judge Glenville's assessment of the propriety of the ex parte meeting. While the meeting could have, and perhaps should have, taken place in open court, nothing about the fact of the meeting or the substance discussed was inherently improper. However, in his order denying defendant Kendrick's motion and in the process of making his record on July 1st, 2024, Judge Glenville added facts, provided context, questioned the veracity of the allegations, and otherwise explained his decisions and actions and argued why those actions were proper. So Judge Krauss basically said in that last part that Judge Glenville may have crossed the line when he tried to explain himself. In granting the motion to recuse, Krauss wrote, "This court has no doubt that Judge Glenville can and would continue presiding fairly over this matter if the recusal motions were denied, but the necessity of preserving the public's confidence in the judicial system weighs in favor of excusing Judge Glenville from further handling of this case."
Look how nicely they told Judge Glenville, yeah, you got to go, fam. You created too much of a scene. Everybody talking crazy. And y'all, what y'all think made Judge Glenville even agree to finally send it over to another judge? It wasn't because he just woke up that morning like, you know what, I'm going to listen to them, I'm going to do it. No, somebody over him told him, yeah, man, you might well get off this case. This ain't looking good. You done messed up a couple times already, bro. And they got you, bro. You know what I'm saying? You might well just hand the case over, do that, and then we going to excuse you nicely. And that's exactly what happened, you know? But we all know why they did it for. It's clear as day.
Bumpus represented Kenneth Little Woody Copeland during that ex parte meeting in Judge Glenville's chambers. She was one of the people ordered to show cause as to why she shouldn't be held in contempt for disclosing the information. I spoke to her about Judge Krauss's decision.
I think it was the right thing to do. I think it's a step in the right direction for these guys to begin to get a fair trial.
Judge Krauss ruled that the show cause order related to Kayla Bumpus was moot. Glenville had mentioned that he saw Bumpus on surveillance video talking to defense attorneys. This is her response to that.
Judge Glenville, I can't remember if we talked after this, but I think we did. I mean, he put on the record that I'm on camera talking to Attorney Steele. So there's no question that me and Attorney Steele and other Miss Team, Attorney Weinstein, there's no question that we had a conversation, and I never denied having a conversation with them. So yes, of course I talked to them, and I did tell them things that happened in that meeting. But if I had a chance to do it all over, I'd do it the same way.
But back to the RICO trial and the motion to recuse being granted. Judge Shakira Ingram has been randomly selected to preside over the trial.
I definitely anticipate motions for mistrial, motions being filed for a mistrial. I can't see anything other than that happening next.
How does a judge come in and take over in the middle of something like this that has gone on now for so long?
And for me, it's not necessarily just about the judge. It's more about the jury. I mean, how do they know what parts to trust, what parts not to trust? There's no way that they're going to not know that Judge Glenville was recused. They just can't show up one day and then there's a new judge. I mean, they have been sitting in this courtroom watching a lot of these motions and hearing a lot of this stuff. And, it's just the jury is like the big thing here. And we know it took 10 months to get that jury. So it's, even if they retry it, I mean, then how long do we have to wait for another jury? So I'm excited to see what motions are filed. I'm excited to see what happens next. I hope that if they do continue to move forward, that at least these guys are given bonds, the ones that qualify for bonds. Of course, we have rules that come with bonds, but I think that some of them definitely should have been given a bond from the beginning. And if they do choose to continue to move forward, I hope that Judge Ingram at least considers to give these guys a bond.
Attorney Doug Weinstein represents defendant Diamante Yak Gotti Kendrick and had filed a motion seeking Judge Glanville's recusal.
This is a huge win. This is a huge win because, look, again, I'm going to say what I keep saying, and I keep saying it because it's the truth. I do respect Chief Judge Glanville. He has a great reputation. He's done tremendous service to this community and through his military service. So I have a lot of respect for Judge Glanville. But at some point, I think any dispassionate observer of this trial on your network or anywhere else can see that, unfortunately, I think the judge has let bias creep in. And so I firmly believe that if this case were to proceed with an unbiased judge, we would get justice, we would get the outcome that our clients and Mr. Kendrick, and again, I'm just speaking for me, but that Mr. Kendrick deserves. So this is a huge win.
The attorney for Jeffrey Williams, Young Thug, have to say about this. I'll get to that in a moment. Lawrence Zimmerman represented Jeffrey Williams' younger brother, Quantavious Greer, at the beginning of this case. So, Lawrence, thanks so much for joining me. Your thoughts on Judge Krauss telling Judge Glanville that he has to recuse himself?
Thank God. It's good to see that justice has been done. This has been a long time coming. This has been a slog. This has been one of the most unfair, unjust, what other words that political thesaurus, I can keep going all day to anything that is synonymous with unfairness and injustice, unjustice. It's been a horrible trial. Forget how the lawyers have been treated. These jurors have been treated poorly. I mean, stuck in a trial. It's already gone on for about a year and a half. Breaks nonstop. They don't know what's happening. It's been just insane to watch the whole thing.
I haven't talked to any current or retired judge who didn't think, when I told them that jury selection took 10 months, that didn't think it was absurd. They couldn't believe it, that you would take 10 months to select a jury and then have the trial drag out in the way that it has. So what do you see coming next? Because a new judge is going to have to come in after all of this, Judge Ingram, look at the transcripts, I'm assuming, look at everything that's unfolded and look at little Woody's testimony and everything that happened with that, and then decide, do we just pick it back up? Or I mean, what do you see happening? Because I feel like this is such a mess.
Crazy.
Just looking at it from the outside in, I don't see how you just keep going with everything that has happened.
Well, first, there's still a pending motion that Brian Steele filed to recuse the Fulton County District Attorney's Office. So that hasn't even been dealt with yet. So first, they're going to have to deal with that, number one. He's alleging it was completely unprofessional and unlawful, quote, unlawfully ethically, to be in that meeting ex parte without telling anybody, with the judge, with Woody, Kenneth Copeland. So you have to deal with that. But to your larger question, this is actually uncharted territory. I'm not sure there's many cases we could find around the country where a judge has been removed, where they didn't drop dead, didn't get really sick in the middle of a trial, especially a trial that's going on this long. I've asked a lot of other lawyers. Nobody really knows of one. And most were sort of the opinion, they didn't think that the judge would be removed, because how do you remove a judge from the middle of a trial, especially like one this large? And to your point, how is Judge Ingram going to catch up on the case? Does she need to read from day one the openings, or can she just basically say, I have a pretty good idea and understanding of what the case is about, just jump right in? I don't know.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, if she has to read the transcripts, it's going to take another 6 months till this case starts back up. But then what? I could say this. I absolutely am certain that the defense is going to renew and file more bond motions to get their clients out on bond. Because Judge Glenville denied every single person a bond in this case. And honestly, there was no basis for that. There were people involved in this case that were on the periphery, that have never been in trouble before, that didn't get bond. She denied bond to everybody. So, I mean, this is uncharted territory.
Brian Steele released a statement last night. His wife, Colette Steele, who's also an attorney who practices with him, sent it over. Jeffrey Williams is innocent of the charges brought in this indictment, and to clear his name, he sought a speedy trial, one in which he would receive the constitutional guarantees of a fair trial with an impartial judge presiding and ethical prosecutors following the law. Sadly, Judge Glenville and the prosecutors have run afoul of their duties under the law. Mr. Williams is grateful that the reviewing court agreed with him and entered the order recusing and disqualifying Judge Glenville from presiding over Mr. Williams's case. We look forward to proceeding with a trial judge who will fairly and faithfully follow the law. Like, maybe the trial should keep going. But wouldn't you anticipate maybe he would want a mistrial after all of this?
Well, sure. If he gets a mistrial, that'd be great, because there'd be double jeopardy issues. And Brian would argue that the district attorney goaded him into moving for a mistrial, to then later bar the trial again. Brian wants a fair trial. I mean, in full disclosure, he's one of my very close friends. I rented space from him and his wife for 15 years. So, and so I'm a little biased, but I will tell you, and I know, there's no lawyer that works harder than him, that fights harder. I mean, nobody. He is one of the smartest people. He's the most successful appellate lawyer in criminal cases in the state of Georgia. And he's a fantastic person. And it breaks my heart to see how this judge has run roughshod over him, and just, I mean, even one time called him unprepared. Calling Brian Steele unprepared is like saying the sun isn't hot. So Judge Glenville really, really messed this case up, and he really showed his true colors. And I'm glad Brian's still standing tall, and he's going to fight for Jeffrey Williams. He's not going to take a plea. He wants his case to come to a logical conclusion with a not guilty. But sure, a mistrial, as long as they retry it again, maybe that's what they'd want. But I think they want to just get through this case. I don't watch this case every day. I catch the summaries. My paralegal is pretty involved in this case as well, but she tells me what's going on. I've yet to see where anybody could tie Jeffrey Williams to any crimes. It's been pretty much to do about nothing so far. Whatever the salaciousness of the events are, the people involved, but I can't see a jury of 12 all agreeing to convict Jeffrey Williams if they even remember the evidence in another year.
So what do you see happening with the motion to recuse the Fulton County DA's office?
Guys.
That's going to be a tough call, because, I mean, certainly if they recuse the Fulton DA's office, the case is definitely over. Judge Krauss, I read her order right when it came out yesterday. It's a decent order. I felt she had courage. I think she was sort of towing the line not to completely criticize the chief judge of Fulton County. I don't think she wanted to embarrass him. I mean, she even dropped some language in there about ex partes could have been done in a better way in open court. I'm not so sure an ex parte, the way that it all occurred, could have been done at all, unless the defense was present or notified. Certainly, the ex parte couldn't have been done with a district attorney's office in a closed hearing without anybody else present. That's not allowed. And remember, Kenneth Copeland was under oath when Judge Glenville spoke with him. So these are all issues that Judge Krauss is going to have to ferret out and determine whether the DA's office should be allowed to stay on the case, because they had very unclean hands at this point.
Well, Judge Krauss didn't completely disagree with how the fact that an ex parte meeting could have occurred. She said that, but you're right. I feel like she was trying to be very careful not to criticize Judge Glanville. What do you know about Judge Shakira Ingram?
I've only had one case with her recently. I found her to be very nice, professional. You know, I didn't have any rulings or any litigation. The case resolved very favorably for us. But she was, listen, I just want a judge who's kind and professional to start with. Certainly one that understands the law and makes good rulings, but you just want a judge to have a good temperament. You were there doing the people's work. You're not a king. You're elected by the people. Get paid by the government. And people want to have assurances that the court system, the criminal legal system, is working in the way it was designed, which we all know it doesn't work the way it should. But you certainly want judges up there calling balls and strikes. You don't want them favoring the Yankees over the Red Sox, right? You want them to be the umpires who will be ethical and neutral when calling the game. And that's not what happened with Judge Glanville. If you watch the case, every single time Brian would ask a question, the prosecutor, Adrian Love, would just object, just to object all the time, even objections I never even heard of. And Judge Glanville would sustain them. I mean, and let's stop me if I'm ranting, but if you look at my client, Jimmy Winfrey, who I represented in 2015, he took a plea against my advice, by the way. I didn't participate in the plea. It's a whole other story. But he pled an Alford plea. He didn't admit to anything. That case then got overturned on appeal by the Supreme Court because the judge threatened him. That's why I refused to participate. Got overturned. The state of Georgia in this Young Thug et al. Case tried to use that guilty plea as an admission about YSL in Jeffrey Williams' case, and Brian objected. The Supreme Court vacated that conviction, said he was coerced. That can't come in, but Judge Glanville still let it in. I'm actually on the witness list in this case because of that. So it's crazy. You can't, I mean, if something gets thrown out, you can't admit that into court. So my point is the bias is ridiculous. That's not how court should work. That's how judges should be. I can't, and let me just say one more thing. I can't tell you how many judges around the state of Georgia stop me all the time. They just ask me, what is going on there in Fulton County? I can't believe what this judge is doing. We've never heard of this before. I have judges texting me.
All right, y'all. So we heard enough, man, and I'm pretty sure all y'all can come to y'all conclusions about this situation, y'all. I do want to know, how do you guys feel like this situation is going to turn out, and how you think it should turn out? Do you think what it is going to be is what should happen, or what's going to happen is what shouldn't happen, but what you think should happen is what should happen, but it might not happen? I think these boys should get a bond. High likelihood they can get a bond, because just getting this whole thing reorganized back again is gonna be crazy. Like, too crazy to the point where, like, it's not making sense, bro. Like, this is just one of the most awkward court cases that happened in a long time, man. Man, I just want to see how they're gonna work this out. And this situation look like it's gonna be prolonged another year. You feel me? Before we get some good info on how this case really gonna be, man. But hey, don't quote me on that, man. We might wake up tomorrow and they say, hey, case is dismissed. You never know. But I will get with y'all on the next video, man. Your boy Big 8 is gone.